All right, welcome, welcome. Guys, I'm super excited for this interview today. I have the one and only Bishoi Nageh on the podcast today. Bishoi is a husband and a dad of three amazing kids, president and CEO of Petra Cephas Mortgage, real estate investor, world traveler, and a true real estate entrepreneur phenom in the mortgage space. And before we jump into Bishois Journey, it's a very interesting story how Bishoi and I met. So Bishoy actually did the first loan on the first property that I ever purchased, and he played cleanup after somebody else could not get the job done. He came in like a superhero, and ever since then, we've been like brothers since then. We just chop it up. We talk business, we talk family, we talk growth. And I think the biggest thing that I really appreciate is we hold each other accountable. So Bishoy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for an amazing introduction, and hopefully I live up to your standards.
Oh, you will. You will. Guys, you want to take the notebook out for this one. Bishoy is a wealth of knowledge and has truly been through it all. So it's going to be a really special episode. So Bishoy, let's talk a little bit more about you. I know you're a California boy at heart, and let's talk about the journey, how you wound up in New Jersey, and especially how you got into the mortgage space.
So I was doing mortgages in California for like 1 to 2 years, and I loved it. But I started as a cell molecular biology major.
Oh,
So I actually
wow.
was, so I actually was trying to do medicine. I loved studying the human body, from DNA cycle to how proteins grow, et cetera, et cetera. And then we were broke. We were completely broke, and I didn't want to put the burden on my mother. And so I see this job posting for a loan originator, and I had no idea what it was. And so I was like, let me just take the job. It gave a salary of $1,500 a month.
Oh, wow.
And I had I had $5,000 in credit card bills. So I told myself they'll fire me in 3 months, and then I'll just go back to school. And I just took off. I didn't believe this was a job. To call people in a manner of sophistication and talk about their finances, I didn't understand how that was a job. I could have done that 10 hours in a day. And so I remember my manager at the time, this is a year to 2 years in, she was like, our department wouldn't even be around if it wasn't for you. Because I came in and just got on the phones. I loved talking to people. And from there, I just moved to New Jersey for my wife. And then I started Petra Cephas here.
And what year was all this, Bishoy, that you got in?
2000, 2002, and that
Okay.
kind of blurry from 2000 to 2003, something like that.
Okay. So you were about 4 or 5 years before the crash.
Yes, yes. And I got to Jersey 2006, and I opened a company in the crash.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. What was that transition like? Because I know a lot of people, we're going through a lot of transformation right now. There's change, there's movement. What was that transition like from leaving the comfortability of California? You had just started to feel success. You made the decision to leave the medical career behind. What was that journey like?
Candidly, it was fun because I love change. I'm the guy that I would change my room, change my bed every 3 months. Where is this? Where is that? So I love change. It was fun for me. Greg, when I started Petra Cephas, my first folder, when I turned on my computer, I bought a first computer, and I said, here's my mortgage folder, because I had no idea how to structure anything. And the name of the folder was Get Rich or Die Trying.
Oh,
I still have that folder. I don't use it, but just as a memory. And so it was exciting to me. You got to look as it was a challenge, but it was exciting. When you come from nothing, you can go back to nothing. And so in 2008 is when it got tough. Because I don't mind, people like you and me, confrontation is engaging for us.
bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on, exactly. But in 2008 is when it got really, really tough, because there was no business. They called it the mortgage crisis for a reason.
So, so you had been 2 years into New Jersey, right? And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, basically everything stops. But no matter what, you still had that motto in your head of get rich or die trying. And I think it's worth mentioning, right? Because we're both from the same era. And I think that hip hop, especially for people that were into it, like it really did play a special role. And I think it helped to fuel us in a way that is kind of like lost now. So it's just very interesting how you shared that. But that's awesome because I can remember I had a lot of those similar statements also. And there was no way that I was not going to win and just keep on going and bust through a wall. So that's awesome.
Hard. It's really hard to fail when you work hard. I mean, I know you, as you said in the introduction, we've known each other for a while. You can be bad and work hard and still be comfortable or know that nothing's going to go wrong the next day. The next level is when you work hard, you work smart and hard, and you have strategy. Then it's no one can stop you.
All right. So I want you to just kind of like, use your imagination, go back to 2008, 2009, and you had just launched the company 2 years before. You probably felt like you were on top of the world. Now, all of a sudden, everything starts to go to, what, in a handbasket, right? What was going through your mind and what did the company look like at that point? Were you still a solo producer or you
No need
were
to
starting
imagine.
to build a team?
No need to imagine because it was yesterday to me because the emotions were tough. Just like everyone knows when they where they were at 9/11, right? I can tell you exactly how I felt. So I was excited. I was gung ho. I was ready to take over the world. And I want to make sure your audience gets something out of this. I relied on mentors heavily, and that was probably one of the reasons why I survived because I had a little money saved up. So I was ready to do TV commercials. I was ready to do mailers. I was ready to do everything. I thought that's how you build a mortgage company and the superficial what you see on the outside of every company. And I failed. I failed at every aspect. Money was going away quickly. And then I had to pray. A lot of prayer. Basically at that time, lenders were not lending money. See, lenders are lending money right now, but there's no supply. At that time, literally, you had a deal, and we get underwriting approvals in a day now. They would give it out in 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
So imagine not even know if a person qualifies for 3 to 4 weeks. And so it was very, very tough then because so much uncertainty, so much uncertainty. And so I would go into the office and do nothing at times, and just speaking to mentors, right? I needed to grow, but I didn't know how. And there were brick walls everywhere around me. And so I just would annoy the heck out of my mentors. They were not available. I would call them back. And when I tell people, employees and colleagues now, well, I tried this and it didn't work, or you didn't get back to me, then try again. Then keep going. Because I remember, I mean, these were friends and mentors, but I needed an answer. I needed to know what to do. And one of the best mentors of mine, he said, what do you like doing? And I said, I like when people call me and say, I got your name. He goes, then master that. And so don't master mailers. He at that time, he owned a mortgage company. They were spending $1 million a month on mailers.
Wow.
A month. And he would tell me how there was a batch of $300,000 of mailers like in storage, and they were going to recycle it because the first batch of 300 didn't work. So he was like, why waste the stamps? So we're going to recycle this paper.
Wow.
And the point of him telling me that was you can spend years trying to identify the font, which colors to use. So he goes, master what you like. And that's when I became obsessed with realtors at that
Yeah,
moment.
that's a great pivot too, because I know that you built your business on relationships. I can remember in the early days, the little scratch offs, the little let's meet for coffees, but what you did is you stood out from everybody else because you were so relational and you were also so relentless that you were going to get in front of me, my colleague, my team, somebody in order to really build that relationship and drive it home. But the one thing that really stood out to me is it wasn't just about talk to me about your business. What's your pipeline look like? It's how's your family? It was how's the vacation? It's, what's your goals? What's your dreams? The one thing that I also remember that I think really goes hand in hand to what you just said is I can remember, I'm not sure if you remember this, but you probably do. We'd have a lot of talks about real estate investing. And I can actually remember where I was in the parking lot of, at the time, it was Eclipse Fitness in Greenbrook. Okay. I had just closed on the first property and me and you were already strategizing, how do I get the second property? So
Amen.
the relationship game was deep.
Everything we do right now, even when I talk to a client now, I'll help one or two clients a month versus 10, 15, 20, because I still want to understand the pulse of the industry, and we still talk about trajectory, of their income and 5 to 7 year plan, and that just, you have to understand where you're trying to grow, even if it doesn't work out like that. And everything you just described to me, you could have described how I got my wife. I literally pursued, was persistent, cared about her. What do you want to call it? Showed her value.
Yeah.
As funny as that sounds. And what most salespeople see, no matter how big Petra Cephas grows, how some football coaches are defensive minded or offensive minded. I'm a sales minded president. I'm all about sales, right? Everything I do, sleep, eat, breathe. And what people don't understand is sales is love. Sales is consistency. Sales is frequency. Sales is calling to say hi, and literally that's it. And just knowing I'm another human being. There's a what do they call it? There's a vibration. There's an energy you give
Yes.
someone
Yes.
else. Hey, Greg, I'm sure you're on the road. Just wanted to say hi. I hope you're doing okay. I was thinking about you. That's it. Now, if I have something else to tell you the next time around, or something important, breaking news, I will. But it was, let's grab coffee. I just saw a post about another mortgage person saying, stop inviting your realtors for coffee. Show them your value. We all do the same thing. 99% of us do the same thing. I want to sit with you. I want to get to know you. I genuinely want to know who you are, what you do, how you want to grow, what stuff like that. You can't get rid of AI. Will never get rid of a human being.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And I think that one of the things that I'm noticing now in this market is a lot of those calls have stopped. And I think a lot of that is because people have stopped focusing on the relational part of this and the sales aspect and the relationship building, and they're focused more on survival. But I think that the ones that are going to continue to thrive, and this includes the realtors listening, the real estate entrepreneurs, the investors, the brokerage owners, if you stay focused on the relational aspect of this, you're going to win. You're going to push through. And even myself, I spent about an hour yesterday and I came up with a list of the deep past clients that I want to reconnect with at like a nuclear level. And how do I re-engage them? How do I get them back into the movement? And that's my focus this week, is really drumming that up, because when you have those relationships tied down, everything starts to just kind of come full circle and you stay prosperous. So I also want to talk about this, Bishoi. You're a man of faith, right? You don't hide that. You're very proud about it. Talk to me about how faith plays a role in your business and your life.
We're playing for eternity. At the end of the day, people separate church and state, or I can't stand the term saying it's just business. And for a justification of how you should act with people. And I try my hardest to treat everyone the same. Everyone absolutely the same. And the fruits of the spirit: joy, peace, kindness, love, you know. And so you want to put yourself in a position where you realize you're going to attract better things in your life. It's honestly self-serving. Some people think I'm going to be a good person for God. You're doing it for yourself, because you'll attract better things, better people. And you want to make sure that you do the things behind the scenes that you would do in front of everyone. And that's just, it's almost like, if I appreciate and respect you, I'm going to be here on time. If I appreciate and respect my God, I'm going to do the right things for him. At the end, everything you do is between you and God. And so it's played a vital role, because I've had to I've had to make sure I stand up to if I'm going to come out to you and tell you I'm Christian and I believe in Jesus, and you're an employee and you come into my office and, hey, we're going to make less money on this. We forgot a rate lock. Do we screw the client over and make up some stuff? Oh, this happened, or do we have to eat it? So it puts me in a position where I have to make sure I'm accountable to God, because I'm representing him to everyone in this world. I'll give you an example. I had a loan officer come in the office and say, hey, this attorney we referred the client to. The client just called me and told me this attorney is trying to refer her to another loan officer. So here we are referring an attorney something. And I don't know if it didn't snap in her head, but we refer to this client in the first place. Somewhat sour, maybe a wrong email, who knows? And I just remember in Samuel 16, when King David was being blasphemed and cursed by an enemy of his, and one of his soldiers had said, "Do you want me to kill this dog? Who is this person cursing at my Lord?" Referring to King David. And King David said, "No, if God's allowing him to curse, let God see that this pain that I'm having and bless me for it." I was just explaining that to my daughter yesterday. That being nice to your brother doesn't mean your brother's going to be nice back to you, but it means something else might happen beneficial to you from somewhere else. And so I literally sat there in front of the loan officer and say, "She just blessed you. Don't say anything. Don't tell the client anything. Just be the best version of you." And so there's a little bit more trying effort there, but I think at the end, whether it's the end on earth or the end in heaven, we're going to come out on top.
Yeah, and I think this is also just Andy Frisella. I know you know who he is, the 75 hard guy, first form. He's part of the group Arate that I'm in. And he just did a really killer story from an event that he was at this past weekend. And a lot of it was about standing up for what you believe in and not being afraid to make that known. And I think that, the country, the world needs a lot more of that right now. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean whoever you believe in, the higher spirit, whatever you're into, right? But it's also like being patriotic, really standing firm with your values and not being afraid that you might deter some people because you're that outspoken about it, or you have that internal belief that people just feel. So I think that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's helped a lot of the growth.
I'm sure it has. It wasn't me.
And what does Petra Cephas mean, Bishoi? I don't even know if a lot of people know what it means, but what does Petra Cephas mean?
Petra is Latin for Peter. Cephas is Aramaic for the rock. So St. Peter is my favorite disciple. We named it after him because he was just zealous and bold, and he would have been in sales, right? and so it was after St. Peter. And I'll be very honest. I was reluctant or resistant in the beginning because I didn't know how people would react to that name, right? The human element in me was a little bit of, there was some timidness. And I met with a realtor because I was always the Petra Cephas branch, even of another company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was meeting with the realtor. She's like, "Who are you?" And I go, "We had an appointment to be here." And she was like, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I don't know. It might have been before Google Calendar, right? And then I saw my letter. I saw the letter I sent her with the scratch off, actually, with the lottery ticket. And I go, "Look, you have my letter in front of you on your desk." "Oh, you're Petra Cephas? Why didn't you say so?" So she recognized the name so immediate, but she didn't know anything else. And that's when it hit me. I was like, people are going to recognize this name, especially in the Northeast. One of the best things about this tri-state area is the diversity is just off the hook. It's so amazing.
Oh, yeah. United Nations.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about the current market that we are in, and we're rounding the corner on 2023, rolling into 2024. Let's talk about what you're doing at a company level to pivot, and also where you see us going.
This current market is poised if people can just hack their brain and realize lenders are starting to get more and more creative. Lenders want to lend as much as they can right now. So the liquidity is there. It's a suppression of supply. And that's going to be temporary. What the Fed are doing and this and that, and what happened with COVID and the money supply, we won't get into all that. But if I could put my experience into every person with 2 to 5 years,
please, that's why we're here.
If they just your audience, how big of an audience is going to predicate your business in the future. And so the only way to make an impact on your income is to literally have everyone know who you are. Boots on the ground, grassroots marketing, get on the phone, text message them, send them a letter, literally with a 60-cent stamp. When you do these things consistently, or your marketing team, and it goes for realtors as well, it goes for anybody in sales. How many times do I discuss this stuff with a realtor? 80%, 90% of realtors have not reached out to their database. And that's the stuff that Petra Cephas helps them with. But it's so simple. It's the long game. See, a Zillow lead is right there. Even though it's harder, even though they're trash, even though they chase, there's an illusion that it's right there. But when you send your clients something every 3 months, literally in the mail, that consistency, it's genuine.
Amen.
So what's going to happen when the Fed finally create this recession, and the recession is here, and then we reverse the Fed, monetary policy, and now rates start to drop. That person on a 3% in a $400,000 home that's now worth $600,000, who makes enough money to buy an $800,000 home, is going to actually do that when the rates are in the fours, because they're okay going from 3 to 4.5 or 5. They're not okay going from 2.8 or 3 to 7 or 7.5. So that's all that's going to happen. It's actually going to be a balloon that pops.
That's what I think too.
We're not going to be able to control the business.
Yeah, I think it's like you're pulling the rubber band back, and it's just like stretching. Eventually, somebody's just going to let that thing rip, and it's just going to explode. But
we've seen it 2-3 times. Pete, it's made millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think somebody else I talked to on the podcast about this, but it was a great analogy. It's like you can't lose as long as you don't get up from the table. You just can't leave the table.
Yes. Yes.
But I think a lot of people need to hear this. If you're at the table in your kitchen or living room working 40 hours or just working from home, and you're not out connecting with people, it's time to maybe go pick a different table. Get back in the office, get on the phone.
If you're able to put, if you put yourself in a position where you strengthen 200 relationships, right? That might give you business right now. But imagine those 200 when the market is hot. So if one individual gives you, Greg, one deal a month, or I'm sorry, one deal a year, when the market is hot, he might give you 4, right? So the problem is people don't realize I have to build 200 relationships.
Yes.
And so they come in, they act busy. It's very hard for an individual to focus on what everyone calls the high priority, high income producing activities.
You also talked about, and you mentioned the database and what the company does for agents, right? Can you go a little bit deeper on that? Because I think that also helped you to stand out and get people's attention.
We help them manage their fundamentals. It's fundamentals. If I ask you right now, the last 5 deals you've done as a realtor, you're going to mention 3 or 4. That is your neighbor, your referral, this guy called you. You're not going to mention I got a lead. You're not going to mention anything like that. You might mention 1 or 2 of them, right? Your husband or your sister met someone, right? And so agents aren't focusing on that. If 80 to 85% of your business is coming from referrals, is 80 to 85% of your energy and money going into referrals. And it's
we go.
It's not. They wake up, they see a lead. I love realtors. You asked me how I when I first got in the business, after 2008, around 2010, I got a Brian Buffini coach. And for some of you who remember who Brian Buffini is, he was the godfather of real estate coaching at the time. I didn't get him to help me with mortgages. I got him to help me with understanding a realtor's mindset. I was obsessed and possessed in understanding what a realtor does, how they do it, why they do it. And till this day, because my heart goes out to my fellow colleagues, right? When a realtor says, well, I can't do that, I'm meeting with an appraiser. Why don't you meet with the appraiser another day? Every realtor stops when the appraiser is free. Why?
Yep.
What's your schedule look like?
Yeah.
And your schedule will always pivot around them. No. If it's 9 to 11, you're reaching out to past clients. Nothing stops you. I can't interrupt a pilot. Can you imagine interrupting a pilot the way we're interrupted? This guy's flying a plane. He has hundreds of lives. You should not be interrupted with high income activities. Your wife, your sister, your brother, your cousin, colleague, no one should interrupt you from reaching out to your gold mine, which is your database.
Preach, preach. This is something that I've told people for the past 5 to 7 years, right? Ever since I went full time in the business. You cannot allow those disruptions to come into your business. And I can remember even when my wife was pregnant with Nicholas, I would tell her, because I was so, what you said, obsessed about going deeper, about, drumming up activity, getting listings. If anything's scheduled in the morning, I'm not going to be able to make it. And it kind of just came to be like a condition, right? And I think that a lot of people need to hear this, because what happens if you were at a corporate job, okay? Could you tell them that you were not going to do your, sales activity, your lead generation, but, you have to go pop in at Target at 9:30? Like, you can't do that, especially not in this market. And if you block that 9 to 11 or 9 to 12, it just becomes habit. It becomes habitual. So thank you for bringing that up, man.
Of course, and go past corporate. It's for you. It's to
Yes.
make herds of money. It's to put yourself in a position where you have financial security. It's to be able to say, Ed Milet said it once, you work so hard to buy days in your life. And what he meant by that, but it was so funny because initially it was almost like, imagine you're 100 years old, Greg, and you said, I have enough money. There was a movie like that with Justin Timberlake. I have enough money in the bank. I'm going to buy me an extra 5 years, right? So no one can really do that. But there are certain people in this world, they can't take a Friday off. If you have done what you have to do in your career, you can say, and the other way he said it, I could buy 10 Ferraris, but I don't want to, right? I can take a Friday off if I wanted to, even though Fridays have recently been my busiest days and I love it, right? So you put yourself in a position to, when people say the long game, it's a long game for you. It's not just the long game for making money. It's when you're 40, 45, 47, I can relax if I choose to. And some people can't do that. Some people don't have that luxury. I'm going to be candid with you. And I don't know if I regret it or not, but on my 1 year anniversary, I came home at midnight and my wife was on the couch and she stopped reminding me because I'm sure I've made it up to her in many, many ways. But when I was in the grind, I was in the grind. I didn't, I couldn't think about anything else. And I'll go to dinner parties and people be like, how's business? How's that? And I'm like, I'm 3 months from filing bankruptcy. Because that's my mentality. I have to think that way. We're in sales. I don't know how money's going to come next week, next month. And so I had someone pull me to the side and they're like, hey, if you need help, I think I had my best year that year. If you need help, and I was like, no, this, I had to explain to him, this is a mental hack. I have to think I'm filing bankruptcy. He actually thought we were really struggling, like wanted to lend us money. And so when you think like that, when you think like a pilot, leave me alone. I got 300 lives I got to save. Leave me alone. I'm about to file bankruptcy. If I'm not, this 2 hours of my life is going to predicate and dictate whether I file bankruptcy or not. That
Solid
mentality.
gold. Solid gold.
Yeah.
And I can attest to this because I can remember sometimes Friday night, Saturday night, whatever, I would drive by Clyde Road. Like, let's say Giselle and I went out to dinner or something, right? I would drive by Clyde Road. There was one light on in the whole complex and your damn car was in the parking lot. And I can remember saying to myself and saying to Gisela, like, he's grinding. Like, he is grinding. But here's the key takeaway, right? That doesn't have to be a season forever. Like, when's the last time that you had to go to Clyde or Willis Way and stay there till midnight, right? But what you did was you crammed 10 years or 15 years into 5 to 7 years. And now you're really reaping the benefits and, built out the company. That
So
people need to rewind that.
I'm so glad you brought that up. If you work out chest today, you're not going to work out chest tomorrow. You're going to take a break. If I worked out back, right? If I swam yesterday, well, actually swimming you could do every day. But the point is, you're a corporate athlete. And people don't look at it like that. People think you got to do 10-hour days, right? You could do 10-hour days, but in that 10 hours, there's a rule. It's actually in the book called The One Thing by Gary Keller.
There
Amazing
you
book.
go.
Was it one of the best books I've ever read in my life. And basically 10 to 20% of what you do really affects your life. And so if I'm hitting the phone for 2-3 hours, I'm probably going to check email the rest of the day. If distractions come, I embrace them. I'm not going to call business partners, clients for 10 hours in a day. So I was probably looking at marketing material at Friday at night or sending a text. And so it's what we call full cycle of execution, right? There's multiple things to get to something to execute. But you're not gonna, people think I gotta do stuff I don't enjoy for 10 hours. No, you're gonna do stuff for 2-3 hours. You can't work out chest every single day. And so you have to kind of, there's a business maturity with that and a way to hack your brain. It's all about hacking your brain.
I agree. And starting to just rewire the way you think about things. And I think that this can go for mortgage, this can go for real estate, whatever. If you just focus on your three or four jobs, right? Lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts. If you're focusing on those things, you can work 4 days a week. But I think what happens is so many people get pulled in every single direction. Like the example that you gave with the appraiser, right? Why does every single appraiser think that they can only go from 9 to 12? Like, it's
Yeah.
the truth.
You know why? Because they want to enjoy the rest of their day.
Exactly. So that's called a clue. All right, let's shift, and we're gonna begin to bring this thing down the home stretch, man. Let's talk about wealth building. Okay, let's talk about legacy wealth. I know that's one of your key focuses. You built up a killer portfolio. I don't want to scare anybody, so we're not going to give too many details. But tell me about what led you down that journey, Bishoi. There had to be something. So what led you down that journey?
I love real estate, mortgages, real estate. Going back to the beginning of this call, it wasn't work. I didn't believe this was a job to just talk to people every single day. And so I really enjoyed mortgages. I think this business is a privilege. I personally, in my life, it was a gift for God to introduce me to the mortgage business, because I come in and Sunday night, Monday morning is when I start. Like, I love it. My life is a vacation. Calling people every day is not work to me. It's embracive. I'm good at math. And so you have to find what you like doing. That's so vital. And so I was able to do it for so well, and I was able to accumulate, a decent amount of money. And so I had to do something with it. And why not real estate, right? I wasn't a believer in the stock market. It may not be a conspiracy theory, but I thought it was a conspiracy theory. And so I loved real estate. And so kind of tied. I'm in mortgages. I got a boatload of money saved. Let's buy some real estate. It's as simple as that. I'm going to share something else.
Please.
I don't know if we're going to go this direction.
Please.
Real estate is not passive. And so people think I got burned in real estate. One thing you don't know, it might have been before we met, and we've known each other 10 years. I short sold some properties. When I was struggling, I was not in a good place. I hated what happened. And I'm trying to dissect why, so I cannot, make the same mistakes. I see young people now saving 30, 40, 50 grand saying, I got to buy real estate, right? I know a person, every $100,000 he saves, he's like, it can't be in the bank. I have to go buy something with it. And in my opinion, that's the worst way to look at real estate. Because when you're over leveraged, if the market shifts a little bit, if your tenants give you a hard time, which they will.
Oh, yeah. We know that.
So real estate is not where you're going to make money. Real estate's where you're going to park money. Real estate's meant to build legacy. Mortgages made my money. I was a loan officer, true for 20 years, 15 years. And so I cash flowed very, very well. And that's when I said, let me park real estate. You want to know how you build wealth? Find a good realtor to find you good properties, because
There
that's
you
what I
go.
did.
There you go.
And they found me great properties. I'll tell you his name at the end of this. Spoiler alert: it was Greg.
We've
He's
done some
smart.
deals together.
We
We
did. We
have.
did do some deals together, and I those deals we paid cash.
Yep.
You know, they were distressed properties. We paid cash, fixed them up, but those tenants gave me such a hard time. I've had to fix so many things, but we bought them at the right place, right time, right purchase price. So now it's a decent portfolio, which I thank you for.
Yes. And the one point that I want to drive home to people is I think that you need to make calculated risk and you need to bet on yourself. Okay. So, like the first property that I bought, I mean, I didn't have two nickels to rub together, man. I can remember, and actually, my brother and I were there this weekend, and we were in one of the apartments, and we're like, what are these electric heating things on the walls? We had to install those because we had no money to change the boiler in the middle of the winter. And we were like, oh my God, what if all three boilers go out at once? But you know what? During COVID, we refied that same property. That was the first property ever purchased and did a cash out. And we're able to buy two more properties with that property. So here's my message is take the risk, bet on yourself if you haven't bought anything yet, but then take Bishoi's advice and you need to have some kind of war chest. And I'll give you a great example of this, okay? If you weren't prepared for, change or the lovely townships that we have here in New Jersey. So on one of my properties right now, they're making me replace 100 feet of curb. Do you know how much 100 feet of curb costs? You actually don't want to know.
Post COVID, it must be a mess.
Yes. So the moral to the story is, find your lane that's going to drive the money, that's going to drive the income, whether that's mortgage, real estate, marketing, sales, whatever, it doesn't matter. But you need something to pump in the primary bucket. Then you start to deploy.
I
So,
would add, find a good mentor.
yes.
Because if you're just going to go buy something and you might see 10% of what you need to know to actually make it work, but the other 90%, I've talked maybe 10 to 20 people out of buying something when they brought it up to me. Right? Somebody just called me about a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo that is negative cash flow, $500. It's a 1-bedroom. For resale purposes, you never want to buy a 1-bedroom on the second floor. Someone who's 70 years old doesn't want to live on the second floor because of stairs. They never thought of that. So find a mentor if you're eager and itching and you want to build a real estate portfolio. But when I got burned, because I was eager and I didn't know anything, I bought real estate the better way this time, where I didn't buy it because I was eager. I bought it because an opportunity came to me and I was ready.
Yes.
It flowed well. If you could buy that way, what I really want to say is I invested in myself. I invested
Mm-hmm.
in mastering mortgages. If you're a marketing person, invest in marketing. If you're a realtor, invest in people coming to you and saying, I need your services. Then you could buy anything you want, or you could just keep the money in the bank. You have an option.
And I know you also invested heavily in coaches in addition to the mentors, and that helped to just give you the path to get to where you are today.
I meet with a CEO and a couple other people, and Greg, that meeting's probably made me two to $300,000 in the last 3 years,
Wow.
because it's just what people don't realize it, and it's that low state of mind, high state of mind. It's the haves, have-nots, and you want to demonize the haves, but something you tell me or I tell you can literally save us a year of headache. If you give me, you need the vibrations, the energy, the universe, the good karma. You need to be around people who are better than you. You can't be the smartest person in the room. You can't be
Amen.
the smartest person in the room.
Amen. All right. Let's get ready to wrap this up. We're going to go to 3 final questions for you, okay? So I know you're a big reader, and I want to know, what are you reading right now? And also, what book has made a huge impact on your life?
So what I'm reading right now is Leadership Tactics and Strategies. It's worded something like that by Jocko
Oh, yeah.
Wilkins. I'm reading Patrick Bet David's book, the Next 5 Moves. That one's very interesting because it talks about a grand master chess player and how he knows the next 13 moves. But yet, if you apply move 2 when you should be applying move 13 and vice versa. And so it's a great business book because I might want to do move 10 right now, but I really should be doing move 4 in my business. And but the GOAT of all books, the greatest of all time, I mean, there's so many, is Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
That book is almost 30 years old now, but that book is just, anybody who is just starting in self-development should start with Awaken the Giant.
Yeah, the audible of that is fantastic too.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk about breakthrough, right? For everybody that's listening to this right now, let's say that they're back in 2006. They just made their move to New Jersey. They have their little small team put together, but now they want to build an empire like you. Give them a couple of things that you would really push them to focus on in order to really level up and keep going.
Distractions. Avoid distractions. And I'll share something with you. When I wanted 10 loan officers, when I shifted the inflection point in my career that I'm not going to originate as much, but build a company and teach people what helped me grow, I was like, I just want 10 loan officers. I just want 10 loan officers. I just want 10 loan officers. And I didn't get any for years. I started hiring loan officers when I told myself I want 100.
Ooh, okay.
And so Gary Keller mentions this. You have to think big, right? You can't say I just want 100 grand in the bank. You have to say you're never going to get it. When you start saying, how can I get $1 million in the bank? The white belt has to start thinking like the black belt. It's the exact same moves actually, right? But you master them as a black belt. And so if you want to just keep thinking as a white belt, you'll never master those moves. And I was thinking as a white belt for the longest time. And so put yourself in a position to want a little bit bigger, and it'll probably get you faster.
That's awesome, man. All right, with that, we're going to put a bow on it. So, Bishoi, how can everybody reach out to you? Tell them where you service and what's the best way to get in touch with you or the team.
Call my cell phone. I'm an open book. My cell phone's online probably. 732-427-4941. I'll talk to anyone. I love being on the phone. PetraCephas.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You Google my name, everything pops up. If anybody needs anything, I'm here to serve.
You got it. Thank you so much for coming on today, brother.
Thank you. God bless.
All right.
God bless your podcast.
Thank you.